Alex never expected to inherit anything special. He was just a simple mechanic on the quiet mining planet of Orion 7, fixing broken engines and rusted transport ships for a living. His life was routine. Wake up, work, eat, sleep, and repeat. Nothing ever changed. But one day, everything did. A small delivery drone arrived at his doorstep, its metal frame dented from years of service. It carried a message, a legal document from an interstellar law firm. At first, Alex thought it was a mistake. He had no family that he knew of, at least none that owned anything worth inheriting. But when he read the letter, his hands trembled. Congratulations, Alexander Rayner. You are the sole heir to the Starship Vanguard, property of your late uncle, Captain Elias Rayner. Alex frowned. His uncle. He barely remembered the man. There were stories, of course, tales of a wild explorer who had vanished years ago, chasing the unknown. Most people assumed he had died in deep space, and now, somehow, Alex owned his spaceship. A few days later, he stood in front of the massive docking bay where the Vanguard was stored. The ship was old, its silver-gray hull covered in scratches and burn marks from past battles. It was larger than any transport ship he had ever worked on, a real deep space vessel, built for long journeys across the stars. His heart pounded as he stepped inside. The ship's interior was dark, the corridors silent except for the faint hum of emergency lights. Dust covered the metal floors. The control panels were ancient, their screens flickering weakly. It was clear that no one had been here for years. As he moved through the hallways, Alex found the main cockpit. He pressed a few buttons on the dusty console, and to his surprise, the ship slowly powered up. Lights flickered to life, and the sound of ventilation systems filled the air. Then something strange happened. A voice, soft, unfamiliar, and definitely not human, echoed through the ship. "Who are you?" Alex spun around, his eyes wide. He was supposed to be alone. Alex, he answered, his voice uncertain. "This ship belongs to me now." Silence. Then, from the darkness of the hallway, a figure emerged. At first, Alex thought it was a hologram, but as she stepped closer, he realized she was real. A girl, tall, slender, and not human. Her skin had a faint silver-blue glow, and her dark eyes seemed to shimmer like the night sky. Her hair, long and flowing, moved slightly as if caught in an invisible breeze. She looked at him, confused. "You are the new captain." Alex took a step back. "Wait. Who? What are you? And why are you on my ship?" The girl tilted her head. "I am Zira. I have been here for a long time." A shiver ran down Alex's spine. "What do you mean, a long time?" She hesitated. "Since before your uncle disappeared." Alex's stomach dropped. His uncle had vanished 10 years ago. Did that mean she had been living here all this time? He glanced around. There were no signs of life. No food, no supplies. "How did you survive?" Zira placed a hand on the ship's wall. The moment she touched it, the lights brightened slightly. "I am connected to the Vanguard," she said. "This ship is my home." Alex stared at her, trying to understand what she meant. "So, you're some kind of stowaway?" Zira shook her head. "No, your uncle brought me here. He promised to protect me." Alex felt a chill. "Protect you? From what?" She didn't answer immediately. Instead, her glowing eyes darkened. "From those who destroyed my people." The weight of her words settled in the air between them. Alex ran a hand through his hair. This was supposed to be simple. He thought he was just getting an old spaceship, maybe selling it for credits or fixing it up for himself. But now, there was an alien girl living inside it, and she was talking about enemies and destruction. This is crazy," he muttered. "I didn't sign up for this." Zira studied him carefully. "You are the captain now. Whether you wanted this or not, the Vanguard has chosen you." Alex frowned. "Ships don't choose people." She smiled slightly. This one does. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. A ship hummed quietly, as if waiting. Finally, Alex sighed. Okay, fine. Let's say I believe you. What happens now? Zira's expression turned serious. Now, you must decide what to do next. Alex exhaled. He had no idea what he had just gotten himself into. But one thing was clear. This was just the beginning. Alex leaned against the control panel, rubbing his forehead. His mind was spinning. He had just inherited an old spaceship, only to find that an alien girl had been living inside it for years. Zira stood across from him, watching him closely. Her silver-blue skin glowed softly in the dim light of the ship's control room. Her dark eyes held an expression Alex couldn't quite read. He took a deep breath. Okay, start from the beginning. Who are you, and why were you on this ship? Zira hesitated before answering. I am Valerie. My people once traveled across the stars, but now very few of us remain. Alex frowned. Why? What happened to them? Her glowing eyes darkened. War. Alex felt a chill. He had heard stories of the Valerie War, though details were scarce. It had happened long before he was born, and no one really knew why it started. Some said the Valerie had discovered something powerful, something that made other civilizations fear them. Others believed they had been betrayed. Your uncle, Elias Rayner, saved me, Zira continued. He found me when I was running from those who wanted to destroy my kind. He brought me here and promised to keep me safe. Alex crossed his arms. That was 10 years ago. How did you survive all this time? There's no food, no supplies. Zira placed a hand on the ship's wall. The metal beneath her fingers glowed faintly. The Vanguard is not just a ship. It is alive, in a way. It has technology that allows me to connect with it. It has sustained me, healed me, kept me in a form of stasis while I waited. Alex's eyebrows raised. Waited for what? Zira met his gaze. For you. A heavy silence filled the room. Alex shook his head. That doesn't make sense. I didn't even know about this ship until a few days ago. But the Vanguard knew, Zira said. Your uncle designed it to recognize his bloodline. When he did not return, it locked itself away, until the time came to choose a new captain. Alex swallowed hard. He wasn't sure he liked the idea of a ship choosing him. He was just a mechanic, not some great explorer like his uncle. So, what now? He asked, trying to sound calm. What do you expect me to do? Zira's expression turned serious. The ones who hunted my people, they are still out there. If they learn that the Vanguard has awakened, they will come. Alex let out a nervous laugh. Come for what? The ship. Zira shook her head. Not just the ship. Me. A cold feeling crept up Alex's spine. Why you? She hesitated before answering. Because I am the last keeper of something they fear, something your uncle tried to protect. Alex's fingers tightened around the edge of the control panel. He didn't like where this was going. Show me, he said. Zira nodded. Follow me. She turned and walked down the dimly lit hallway. Alex followed cautiously, his boots echoing against the metal floor. They passed several doors, most of them locked. Finally, Zira stopped in front of a large circular door at the back of the ship. Unlike the rest of the Vanguard, this door looked newer, stronger. Zira placed her hand on a scanner. The door hissed open. Inside, the room was dark, except for a faint blue light coming from the center. Alex stepped in, and his breath caught. There, floating in midair, was a small crystalline orb. It pulsed with energy, casting strange patterns of light across the walls. What is that? Alex asked. Zira's voice was quiet. It is called the Star Core. It is the last piece of my people's greatest technology. Alex took a slow step forward, staring at the glowing object. And your enemies, they want this. They fear it, Zira corrected. The Star Corps has the power to change the course of a war. It can power entire fleets or destroy them. The ones who hunted the Valerie wanted it for themselves, but when they could not control it, they tried to erase us instead. Alex exhaled. And my uncle, what did he do? He stole it from them before they could use it. He brought it here, to the Vanguard, and hid it away. Alex stared at the floating crystal. He wasn't a soldier, a hero, or a warrior. He was just a guy who fixed engines. And now, he had inherited not just a spaceship, but a secret that could get him killed. He turned back to Zira. Why didn't you leave? If this thing is so dangerous, why didn't you take it and run? Zira's expression softened. Because I made a promise. Your uncle saved me. He gave me a home. He asked me to protect this ship and everything inside it. Until someone worthy arrived. Alex let out a dry laugh. Worthy? Lady, I'm just a mechanic. I'm not a hero. You do not have to be a hero, Zira said. You just have to make a choice. Alex ran a hand through his hair. This was insane. He should just sell the ship, take the money, and walk away. Let someone else deal with this mess. But deep down, something told him it wasn't that simple. If what Zira said was true, then people, dangerous people, were looking for this ship, and now that he had activated it, it was only a matter of time before they found him. He looked at Zira again. She had been hiding here for years, alone, waiting for someone to help her. Maybe he wasn't a hero, but he wasn't the kind of person who walked away either. Alex took a deep breath. All right, he said. If what you're saying is true, then we need to get out of here, before someone else finds us first. Zira smiled. Then it is time to wake the Vanguard. She placed both hands on the ship's wall. The lights brightened. The engines rumbled to life. The entire ship shook as power surged through it. Alex's heart pounded. Whether he liked it or not, his journey had begun. The Vanguard trembled as its systems roared back to life. The hum of the engines vibrated through the metal floors, and the control panels lit up one by one, displaying streams of alien symbols mixed with human text. Alex tightened his grip on the command chair as the ship's power surged through its core. This is incredible, he muttered. Zira stood beside him, her silver-blue skin glowing softly under the flickering lights. Her expression was calm, but her eyes held something deeper, relief. The ship is responding, she said. After all these years, it is awake again. Alex glanced at the screens in front of him. He could read some of the data, but most of it was beyond his understanding. Okay, now that we have power, tell me, what else can this ship do? Zira turned to the console and placed her palm on the surface. The screens shifted, showing different sections of the Vanguard. This ship is not an ordinary vessel, she explained. Your uncle modified it with Valerie technology. It has defenses stronger than most human ships, an advanced cloaking system, and... She hesitated. Alex raised an eyebrow. And what? She exhaled. And a weapon unlike any other. A cold feeling settled in Alex's chest. What kind of weapon? Zira tapped a control panel, and a holographic blueprint of the Vanguard appeared before them. A glowing red core pulsed at the center of the ship. The Star Corps cannon, Zira said. It was built using Valerie energy. Your uncle installed it as a last resort. Alex frowned. Last resort for what? Zira's gaze darkened. For war. Alex leaned back. Great. So not only do I own an ancient spaceship, but it also has a super weapon attached to it. Anything else I should know? Zira nodded. Yes. If anyone finds out the Vanguard exists, they will come for it. Alex sighed. Yeah, I figured that part out already. He stared at the hologram, trying to process everything. His uncle had hidden a powerful alien artifact, an advanced chip, and a mysterious girl who had been waiting for 10 years. And now, all of it was his responsibility. A loud beeping sound interrupted his thoughts. Zira's head snapped toward the screen. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls. "What is it?" Alex asked. Her expression turned serious. "A distress signal." Alex's stomach tightened. "From who?" Zira tapped a button, and the message played over the speakers. A static-filled voice crackled through. "This is Captain Rin of the cargo ship Starwind. We are under attack, requesting immediate assistance. Our engines are damaged, and we won't last much longer." A burst of static cut off the transmission. Alex turned to Zira. "Can we trace the signal?" She nodded. "Yes, the ship is nearby, just outside the asteroid belt." Alex hesitated. He had just learned how powerful the Vanguard was. If he went out there, he could be putting himself in danger. But if he ignored it, those people would die. His uncle had saved Zira. He had used this ship to help others. Alex clenched his fists. "Set a course." Zira's eyes widened slightly, but she nodded. "Understood." She pressed a few controls, and the Vanguard responded immediately. The engines roared as the ship turned toward the distress signal. For the first time, Alex felt like he was truly in control of his new destiny. A trap in space. Minutes later, the Vanguard emerged from hyperspace near the asteroid belt. Floating in the distance was a damaged cargo ship, its hull blackened from weapons fire. Sparks flickered from the engines. "There it is," Alex said. "Do you see any attackers?" Zira's fingers danced over the controls. No ships on scanners. But something feels wrong. Alex narrowed his eyes. "Like what?" Zira didn't answer immediately. Then, after a moment, she whispered, "It's too quiet." Alex's gut twisted. Something was wrong. Before he could react, the Vanguard's warning system blared. "Incoming projectiles detected." Alex's eyes widened. "Shields up." Zira slammed her hand onto the controls, and the ship's energy shield flared to life, just as a barrage of plasma fire came from the shadows of the asteroid belt. From behind a massive asteroid, 3 alien ships emerged, sleek, dark, and predatory. Zira's voice was tight. "Draken warships." Alex clenched his jaw. "Who are they?" "They are mercenaries," Zira said, "and they do not take prisoners." Alex's heart pounded. This wasn't just a simple distress signal, it was a trap. The Draken ships moved fast, circling around the cargo ship like vultures. Alex's hands hovered over the controls. He had never been in a space battle before, but he couldn't let those people die. He took a deep breath. "We have to help them." Zira nodded. "Then prepare yourself, Captain." She pressed a button, and the Vanguard's weapons powered up. The battle had begun. The Vanguard trembled as the enemy ships opened fire. Plasma bolts streaked across the darkness, slamming into the energy shields with a bright flash. Alarms blared inside the cockpit. Alex's hands gripped the controls tightly. His heart pounded. This was his first real space battle, and he had no idea what he was doing. "Shields are holding," Zira called out. Her glowing fingers moved quickly across the console, reading the battle data. "But they won't last forever." Alex swallowed hard. "Can we fight back?" Zira nodded. "Yes, but you must command the ship." Alex hesitated. "I don't know how." Zira turned to him, her dark eyes intense. "The Vanguard will respond to you. You are the captain now. Just trust your instincts." Alex took a deep breath. Trust my instincts. He had spent his life fixing ships, not flying them into battle. But he had no choice. If he didn't act, the Vanguard would be destroyed. He gritted his teeth. "All right, let's do this." Zira's fingers moved over the controls, activating weapons. The Vanguard's weapon systems roared to life. Along the sides of the ship, turrets unfolded, and the forward cannons glowed with energy. The enemy ships came in fast, firing another wave of plasma bolts. Alex reacted instinctively, gripping the controls and rolling the ship to the side. The attack missed by inches, flashing past the viewport. Alex exhaled sharply. That was close. Zira gave a small smile. You're learning. But there was no time to celebrate. The Draken ships were circling, trying to surround them. Alex's mind raced. We can't let them trap us. Let's take them out one by one. Zira nodded, targeting the closest ship. The Vanguard's cannons locked onto the nearest enemy. Alex pulled the trigger, and a blazing energy beam shot forward, striking the Draken vessel dead on. The ship shuddered, its shield sparking under the impact. But it wasn't enough. The enemy was still moving. They're fast, Alex muttered. Zira's eyes flashed. Then we must be faster. She pressed a control, and the Vanguard's thrusters flared, propelling the ship forward at high speed. The sudden acceleration pushed Alex back in his seat. He grinned. This ship really could move. The enemy vessel swerved to escape, but Alex wasn't going to let it go. Fire again. The Vanguard's cannons unleashed a second blast, this time hitting the Draken's engines. The enemy ship exploded, sending debris flying into space. Alex let out a breath. One down. But there were still two more. The second Draken ship fired missiles, and alarms blared as they locked onto the Vanguard. Alex's heart pounded. How do we stop those? Trust me, Zira said. She pressed a control, and suddenly, the Vanguard vanished. Alex's eyes widened. What just happened? Zira gave him a small, confident smile. Cloaking system activated. Outside, the missiles lost their target, veering off course before exploding harmlessly. The Draken ships hesitated, scanning for their lost prey. Alex smirked. I think I'm starting to like this ship. Zira didn't answer. She was focused on the battle. We have an advantage now. Strike before they detect us. Alex nodded. Let's go after the next one. The Vanguard reappeared right behind the second enemy ship. Before the Draken pilot could react, Alex fired all weapons. The blast tore through the enemy's hull, and the ship erupted in a fiery explosion. Now, only one enemy remained. But this one was smarter. Instead of fighting, it turned and fled. They're running, Alex said. Zira frowned. They will return with reinforcements. Alex clenched his jaw. He could chase the last enemy down, but that would take time. And there was still the cargo ship to worry about. He exhaled. Let them go. Right now, we need to save those people. Zira nodded. Understood. The Vanguard turned toward the damaged cargo ship. The rescue. The Starwind was barely holding together. Its hull was scared, and the lights inside flickered weakly. Alex opened a communication channel. Starwind, this is Captain Alex Rayner of the Vanguard. We're here to help. For a moment, there was only static. Then, a weak voice responded. This is Captain Rin. Our life support is failing. We need assistance. Alex turned to Zira. Can we dock with them? She nodded. Yes, but their airlocks are damaged. We'll have to use the shuttle. Alex blinked. We have a shuttle. Zira smiled. Your uncle thought of everything. A few minutes later, Alex and Zira boarded the small transport shuttle located inside the Vanguard. The small ship detached and flew toward the Starwind, entering through a partially damaged hangar bay. Inside, the situation was worse than they expected. Smoke filled the air, and sparks rained from broken electrical panels. Several crew members, humans and aliens alike, were injured, lying against the walls. Alex hurried over to the nearest person, a young woman with a bleeding wound on her arm. We're getting you out of here. Captain Rin, an older man with gray hair and a deep scar across his cheek, approached them. He looked exhausted but relieved. You saved us, Rin said, his voice rough. Alex gave a small nod. We're just doing what's right. Rin's gaze flicked to Zira, and his eyes widened. Valerie, he whispered. Zira stiffened slightly but didn't speak. Alex frowned. You know about the Valerie. Rin hesitated, then said, Not here. Too many ears. Alex's stomach twisted. There was more to this than he realized. "We need to leave," Zira said. "Now." Alex looked around at the injured crew and nodded. "All right, let's get these people to safety." As they helped the survivors onto the shuttle, a cold realization settled in Alex's mind. This was no accident. The Draken had set a trap. And if they had been waiting for the Vanguard, that meant someone knew about the ship's return. Someone dangerous. Alex clenched his fists. This was far from over. The shuttle landed smoothly inside the Vanguard's hangar. The cargo ship's survivors, weak and injured, stepped onto the solid floor, their expressions a mix of exhaustion and relief. Alex helped the last crew member out before turning to Captain Rin. "We made it," Alex said, exhaling. "Now tell me, what's really going on?" Captain Rin wiped sweat from his forehead. His uniform was torn, his face covered in dirt and small cuts. He looked at Alex, then at Zira, hesitation in his eyes. "You don't know what you've inherited, do you?" Rin asked. Alex crossed his arms. "I'm starting to figure that out. My uncle's ship is more than just a spaceship. It has technology people would kill for. And now, the Draken mercenaries are after it." Rin gave a tired nod. "They weren't just after my ship. They were waiting for you." Alex's stomach tightened. "For me." Zira stepped forward, her dark eyes serious. "That means someone knew the Vanguard would return." Rin sighed. "There are people out there, dangerous people, who have been searching for this ship for years. The Draken, they were just the hired muscle." Alex ran a hand through his hair. "Great. So who's behind all this?" Rin hesitated before answering. "The Syndicate." The word sent a chill down Alex's spine. The Syndicate was a powerful and ruthless criminal organization that operated across the galaxy. They controlled black markets, illegal technology trades, and secret experiments. If they were after the Vanguard, it meant big trouble. Alex glanced at Zira. She looked calm, but her hands were clenched into fists. "They've been searching for this ship since your uncle vanished," Rin continued. "And now that you've activated it, they'll never stop hunting you." Alex took a deep breath. So this wasn't just about a spaceship anymore. This was about surviving against an enemy that had been watching and waiting. "What do they want with the Vanguard?" Alex asked. Rin's expression darkened. "They want the Starcore cannon. If they get their hands on that weapon, they could destroy entire planets." Alex's fists tightened. His uncle had modified this ship to protect people, not to be used as a weapon for criminals. "We can't let that happen," Alex said firmly. Rin nodded. "Then you better prepare yourself. Because the Syndicate will come for you, and they won't stop." A new threat. After making sure the survivors were safe, Alex and Zira returned to the cockpit. The ship's systems hummed around them, and the stars outside seemed peaceful. But Alex knew better. "This changes everything," Alex muttered. "I thought this ship was just an inheritance, but it's a target." Zira stood beside him. "You have a choice, Alex." He looked at her. "You can run," she continued, "or you can fight." Alex let out a humorless chuckle. "Running sounds nice." Zira didn't smile. "But you won't do it," he sighed. She was right. He wasn't the kind of person to run while innocent people were in danger. His uncle hadn't run either. Before he could reply, the ship's warning system blared. Alex jumped to the console. "What now?" Zira's fingers moved over the controls. Her face grew tense. "A ship is approaching. It's not Draken, but it's heavily armed." Alex's heart pounded. "Syndicate." Zira nodded. "Most likely." Alex clenched his jaw. "Then we fight." The Vanguard powered up its weapons. The ship outside was smaller than theirs, but it had sleek black armor and glowing red markings, a Syndicate design. The screen flashed with an incoming transmission. Alex hesitated, then accepted the call. A hologram appeared. A tall, bald man with cybernetic implants stared at them. His metallic eye glowed red. His voice was cold. "Captain Alex Rayner," he said, "you have something that belongs to us." Alex crossed his arms. "Sorry, but I don't do business with criminals." The man smirked. "You misunderstand. This isn't a negotiation." The transmission cut off, and the enemy ship opened fire. The battle begins. The Vanguard shook as laser blasts slammed into its shields. Sparks flew from the control panels. Alex gripped the controls. "Shields holding." "For now," Zira said, her fingers moving quickly. "But this ship is fast. We won't last in a direct fight." Alex's mind raced. He couldn't just outgun them. He had to outsmart them. "Can we disable their engines?" he asked. Zira's eyes lit up. "Yes, if we hit their thrusters with an energy pulse, they'll be stranded." Alex nodded. "Let's do it." Zira pressed a few buttons, and the Vanguard's energy cannons locked on to the enemy's thrusters. Firing now. A blue pulse shot forward, hitting the enemy ship's engines. Sparks erupted from the thrusters, and the enemy ship lurched to a stop. Alex grinned. "Nice shot." But the Syndicate wasn't finished. The enemy ship launched boarding pods, small metal capsules that shot toward the Vanguard. "They're trying to board us," Zira shouted. Alex cursed. "Can we stop them?" Too late. They're already inside. Alarms rang as the boarding pods attached to the Vanguard's hull. Alex unstrapped himself from the chair. "We have to fight them off," he said. Zira nodded. "Let's go." Defending the ship, Alex and Zira rushed to the lower deck. As they arrived, the airlock doors hissed open, and heavily armed Syndicate soldiers poured in. Alex's heart pounded. He had never been in a gunfight before. But he wasn't alone. Zira moved like a shadow, dodging enemy fire with inhuman speed. Her hands glowed with blue energy, and with a single strike, she knocked a soldier backward. Alex ducked behind cover, grabbing a blaster from the ship's weapon rack. He aimed carefully and fired, hitting one of the Syndicate soldiers in the shoulder. The man fell back, groaning in pain. More soldiers pushed forward. Alex and Zira fought side by side, defending the ship. But there were too many of them. "Alex," Zira said, breathing hard, "we need a plan." Alex's mind raced. Then he had an idea. "Can we eject them into space?" Zira's eyes widened, then she grinned. "Yes, we just need to lure them toward the airlock." Alex nodded. "Then let's make them follow us." He and Zira ran toward the airlock, firing at the soldiers to draw their attention. The Syndicate troops chased them. Zira reached the control panel. "Ready?" Alex waited until the enemy was inside the airlock. Then he gave the signal. Zira slammed the emergency release button. The doors burst open, and the enemy soldiers were sucked into space. The airlock sealed shut, and silence filled the room. Alex let out a breath. That was close. Zira nodded. "But this isn't over." Alex knew she was right. The Syndicate wouldn't stop. They would keep coming. And now, Alex had no choice but to fight back. The Vanguard floated silently in space. The battle was over, but Alex knew the war had just begun. He stood near the cockpit window, watching the Syndicate ship drift helplessly. Their engines were fried, their soldiers were gone, and they were stranded. But this wasn't a victory. Not yet. Zira walked up beside him. "We need to leave before reinforcements arrive." Alex sighed. "I know, but I need answers first." He turned back to the controls and opened a communication channel to the Syndicate ship. The bald man with the cybernetic eye reappeared. His face was calm, too calm for someone who had just lost a battle. "You made a mistake, Rayner," the man said. Alex crossed his arms. "I just beat you. I'd say I did pretty well." The man smirked. "You think this is over? You have no idea what you're involved in." Alex narrowed his eyes. "Then why don't you explain it to me?" The man leaned forward, his cybernetic eye glowing red. That ship doesn't belong to you. Your uncle stole it from the syndicate, and we're here to take it back. Alex's breath caught in his throat. Stole it? That's a lie, he said. Is it? The man chuckled. Your uncle was a thief. He took something from us, something dangerous. And now you're flying around in a ship you don't even understand. Alex clenched his fists. What did he take? The man's expression darkened. The Valerie core. Alex turned to Zira, but she didn't look surprised. Her face was tight with emotion. You know about this, Alex said. Zira nodded slowly. I was afraid this would happen. Alex stared at her. What is the Valerie core? She hesitated, then said, It's the heart of this ship. Alex frowned. The Vanguard's power source. Zira shook her head. More than that. The Valerie core isn't just technology. It's alive. Alex felt a chill run down his spine. What do you mean alive? Zira's glowing hands flexed as she struggled to explain. The Valerie core is not just a machine. It's an ancient energy source, and it's connected to my people. Alex's mind spun. So my uncle didn't just take a ship. He took something living. Zira nodded. And the syndicate wants it back. Alex turned back to the screen, where the syndicate leader was watching with amusement. You're running out of time. Raynor, the man said. Return the Valerie core, or we will take it by force. Alex smirked. I just disabled your ship. I don't think you'll be taking anything. The man chuckled. Oh, Alex, you really don't understand. Before Alex could respond, the syndicate ship suddenly exploded. The shockwave rattled the Vanguard. Alex staggered back. What the? Zira's hands flew over the controls. It wasn't us. Someone else. A new ship appeared out of the void. It was massive, black as night, with glowing red symbols along its hull. The syndicate had called for backup. Alex's stomach dropped. That's a battleship. Zira's face was grim, and it's locking onto us. Alarms blared. Alex, Zira said, we have to run. Now. Alex gritted his teeth. Then let's go. The Great Escape. The Vanguard's engines roared to life. The syndicate battleship fired a plasma barrage. Brace yourself, Zira shouted. The Vanguard twisted, dodging the first wave of fire, but more shots followed, and the ship shuddered as explosions rippled across its shields. Alex gripped the controls. Can we jump to hyperspace? Zira shook her head. Not yet. They hit our jump drive. It'll take a minute to recharge. Alex cursed. Then we need to buy time. He pulled the ship into a dive, heading toward a nearby asteroid field. Zira's eyes widened. That's suicide. Alex grinned. Not if we're crazy enough. The Vanguard dove into the asteroid field, weaving between massive space rocks. The syndicate battleship followed, but it was too big to maneuver easily. They're struggling to keep up, Zira said. Alex pushed the ship harder, skimming dangerously close to the asteroids. The Vanguard rolled, spun, and twisted, narrowly avoiding collisions. Behind them, the syndicate ship slammed into a rock, shaking from the impact. Alex whooped. That bought us some time. Zira checked the systems, jump drive at 90%. Alex grinned. Almost there. But then, a new warning flashed on the screen. Zira's face went pale. They're launching. A hunter drone. Alex's grin disappeared. A black, spear-shaped drone detached from the syndicate ship and shot forward at impossible speed. It was fast, too fast, and it was locked onto them. Alex's heart pounded. Can we dodge it? Zira shook her head. It's tracking our energy signature. It won't stop until we're dead. Alex's mind raced. They couldn't outrun it. They couldn't outgun it. They had one option left. Zira. Alex said, Can we trick it? She blinked. How? Alex pointed at a massive asteroid ahead. If we overload our engines and cut power at the right second, maybe we can make it think we crashed. Zira's eyes widened. That's risky. Alex smirked. You said I had to trust my instincts. She hesitated, then smiled. All right, Captain. Let's do it. The Vanguard raced toward the asteroid, the hunter drone closing in fast. Zira activated the engine overload. The ship shook violently, power levels spiking. The moment they reached the asteroid, Alex cut all power. For a split second, the Vanguard went dark. The hunter drone *** locked onto the asteroid instead, ***, and slammed into it at full speed. Boom! The drone exploded into a fiery ball of wreckage. Alex whooped. It worked. Zira quickly restored power. Jump drive is ready. Alex punched the controls. The Vanguard vanished into hyperspace, leaving the Syndicate battleship far behind. A moment of silence. The ship drifted in hyperspace, the stars stretching into streaks of light. Alex exhaled. That was too close. Zira nodded. But we survived. Alex turned to her. Now tell me the truth. What's inside this ship? What is the Valerie core really? Zira hesitated. Then she said softly, it's not just energy. It's a consciousness. Alex's blood ran cold. You mean it's alive? Zira nodded. Alex swallowed hard. This wasn't just a battle anymore. It was a war over something far greater than he ever imagined. And he was right in the middle of it. The Vanguard glided through hyperspace, its systems humming softly. The battle was over, but Alex knew the danger hadn't passed. The Syndicate wasn't the kind of enemy to give up. They would keep coming. But right now, something else worried him more. He turned to Zira, his voice steady but firm. You said the Valerie core is alive. She nodded. Yes. Alex took a deep breath. Then tell me the truth. What exactly is inside this ship? Zira hesitated, her hands clenched at her sides. Then, finally, she spoke. The Valerie core is not just a power source. It is a living intelligence, a sentient entity with its own thoughts, its own will. Alex's stomach twisted. And you knew this the whole time. Zira met his gaze. I suspected, but I wasn't sure until now. Alex ran a hand through his hair. This was too much. He had inherited a spaceship, fought mercenaries, escaped a criminal syndicate, and now he learned that the heart of his ship was alive. He looked at the control panel, as if expecting the ship to suddenly start speaking to him. So, it's aware of us. Zira nodded. More than that, it's been watching. A cold shiver ran down Alex's spine. You mean? He hesitated. It knows who I am. Zira exhaled slowly. It knows everything. A voice in the dark. Before Alex could process what Zira had just said, the ship's lights flickered. The control panel glowed brighter. The hum of the engines changed, becoming deeper, almost like a whisper. Then, a voice echoed through the cockpit. Alex Rayner. Alex's breath caught in his throat. The voice was calm, smooth, and ancient, neither male nor female. It came from everywhere at once. Alex exchanged a look with Zira. Is that? Zira nodded. It's the core. Alex swallowed hard and turned back to the console. Hi. A soft hum vibrated through the ship. You have awakened me, the voice said. For that, I thank you. Alex hesitated. You're alive. I am more than alive, the voice responded. I am aware. Alex glanced at Zira, but she only nodded for him to continue. He turned back to the glowing screen. Then tell me, what are you? The lights brightened, and the hum of the ship deepened. I am the last of the Valerie, the voice said. I was once part of a great civilization, but my people are gone. Only I remain. Alex felt a strange weight settle on his chest. The civilization, gone. What happened to them? He asked. The ship rumbled softly, as if the core itself was remembering something painful. They were destroyed, it said, hunted, erased, by the Syndicate. Alex's fists clenched. So that's why they want you back. They do not seek me for knowledge, the core said. They seek me for power. If I fall into their hands, countless worlds will burn. Alex took a deep breath. He had been thrown into this war without a choice. But now he understood the stakes. This wasn't just about his uncle's old ship. This was about protecting something far greater. And he wasn't about to let the Syndicate win. The final choice. Alex squared his shoulders. What can we do? The core's voice softened. You must take me to the sanctuary. Zira's eyes widened. Sanctuary. That place is real. Yes, the core said. It is the last safe haven for my kind. If I reach it, I will be free. The Syndicate will never control me. Alex nodded. Then that's where we're going. Zira looked at him, her expression serious. You understand what this means, right? If we do this, we'll be declaring war on the Syndicate. Alex took a deep breath. He thought of everything that had happened. The battles, the chase, the risks. He thought about his uncle, who had tried to keep the core safe. And he thought about the people who would suffer if the Syndicate won. Finally, he nodded. I know. Zira studied him for a moment, then smiled. All right, Captain. Let's do it. Alex grinned. Let's get this core to safety. The journey begins. Zira entered coordinates into the navigation system. The Vanguard adjusted its course, setting a path toward the sanctuary, a hidden planet on the far edge of the galaxy. As the ship moved through hyperspace, Alex leaned back in his chair. For the first time, he felt a sense of purpose. He wasn't just running anymore. He was fighting for something real. The core's voice spoke one last time. Thank you, Alex Rayner. He smiled. Don't thank me yet. We still have a long way to go. The Vanguard sped through the stars, carrying its secret toward hope and toward a new future.